All right, want to cover the injuries and what's been going on with the Portland Trailblazers because this is a team with a lot of potential. We saw coming into this season. They looked around 10-11 deep. They made great roster moves and changes for surrounding a contending team around Damian Lillard, and injuries happened once again for the Portland Trailblazers, Terry Stotts, Damian Lillard, and the crew. So going into the season, we all kind of expected the Portland Trailblazers to be in a quote unquote deep Western Conference. Now there's a lot of deep tier 2 teams in the West, not tier 1s. The tier 1s we pretty much just see are the LA Lakers on an island by themselves. And you can somewhat throw the Clippers into there, but no, the Lakers are pretty much by themselves. And the rest of the tier 2 teams are pretty much like the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, the Dallas Mavericks, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers, yada, yada, yada. Teams have won within that milestone. So right now the Portland Trailblazers have a record of 8-6 in the Western Conference. They are sitting within the Western Conference around a 7th seed. And if you're looking, actually no, they're at a 6th seed now, my bad. If you're looking to the Western Conference, a lot of these teams are near 500. Now credit, it's only been around 14 to 15 games within the season, but besides from a 72 game season within here, it's still somewhat early, but you do have teams such as the New Orleans Pelicans who are around an 11th seed, who are pretty close to getting an 8th seed. So it's going to be very tight in the Western Conference as expected. The Portland Trailblazers right now, you do have Damian Lillard, you have CJ McCollum, you have Nurkic, you have Collins, you got Carmelo Anthony, you brought in Robert Covington, you brought in Derrick Jones, you got Enes Kanter. The team is pretty stacked as it is, but we've seen a couple of injuries for the beginning of this season. So, for an example, when we're looking into the injuries of the Portland Trailblazers, which is most recent, CJ McCollum is sidelined with a foot injury, and he's out indefinitely. And reports have shown this is a quote-unquote broken leg. This could be out for around 2 months or so. And CJ McCollum was cooking up. He was reaching that all-star potential level as we usually expect him to be within a regular season. And this is bad if you're Damian Lillard as it is. CJ McCollum is out. Same thing with CJ Ellaby, another shooting guard on their team with a foot injury. Zach Collins is hurt as well. An ankle injury, he's out indefinitely. And we saw the same thing with Jusuf Nurkic, their center, with his wrist. He's out indefinitely, probably for around 1 to 2 months, if anything, at least. This is a bad look for the Portland Trailblazers. Last season, they did squeak into an 8 seed into the playoffs because Collins, Nurkic, and their bigs, they were hurt within the season. And Damian Lillard and the crew never got their full healthy roster. And whenever they finally were healthy within the bubble, they were cooking. The Portland Trailblazers looked like a threat out there, but too little too late. They were an 8 seed going against the Lakers. Right now, if you're the Blazers, it's a bad position. Now, I fully expect them to still make the playoffs. You do have Damian Lillard who will get into effect. And hey, maybe this could bring in the case to where he could possibly win MVP if he brings his team to a 3rd seed or 4th in that mix. Because pretty much in the West, it's going to be the 1-2 seeds are going to be the Lakers or Clippers, vice versa. And pretty much when it comes to the 3rd seed and beyond, that's pretty much up for the taking. I mean, you could be a team like the Phoenix Suns out there to take it. You can be a team like the Denver Nuggets. And if you're the Portland Trailblazers with Damian Lillard, maybe he goes into effect of pretty much scoring and averaging over 30 a game and trying to get that 3rd seed. If he gets that 3rd seed, he'll make a great case of being top 2 in MVP consideration. But so far, the Portland Trailblazers, a lot of teams members are going to have to step up when it comes to it. Good thing you did bring in Harry Giles and Enes Kanter as your bigs because Nurkic is injury prone. So they'll get more playing time. They're good within that. When it comes to their 4, you can have Carmelo Anthony and Robert Covington pick that up, which is very good. And Derrick Jones can play the 4 as well. So with Collins being out, the Portland Trailblazers are stacked for a reason. They have around 10 to 11 deep to where they can come up with this. I think the Blazers, they'll still be fine as it is. The only main one was CJ McCollum, who is out. So Carmelo Anthony is really going to have to step up with Damian Lillard to get around 15 to 20 a game to really help out Damian Lillard. And we've seen with Carmelo Anthony, he can give you 16 to 9 on average. He did so last season. So I expect the same thing when it comes down to Carmelo Anthony and the crew. Now, when it comes down to it, you may want to look to bring in maybe back an Allen Crabbe or someone for free agency for the meantime. But we'll see. We'll cover more into there. I'm curious to see how the Blazers play it off, but I think this fuels Damian Lillard to another level, and I expect the Portland Trailblazers to kick it off on a legendary note due to Damian Lillard. And initially, it's not going to be smooth for the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, first game when CJ was out, they lost to the San Antonio Spurs, quote-unquote at home, and the Spurs pretty much took them down by 20 points. You did have a starting lineup through that time. Terry Stotts brought in Damian Lillard, Rodney Hood, Derrick Jones Jr., Robert Covington, and Enes Kanter. And I'm not crazy about that starting five due to the injuries. Damian Lillard did put up 35 points that game, and they lost by 20. And you have Carmelo Anthony off the bench, who only gave you 14 points. So Carmelo Anthony's really got to step it up for their team. Same thing with Gary Trent Jr. A 1-for-9 performance is not going to get it done. Robert Covington's a catch-and-shoot type player. Derrick Jones just comes off, pretty much cuts, screens, and things like that. So there's not a lot of shot creators on the team that are as efficient. Now, Rodney Hood did give you 21 points, but I would actually prefer they would now start Carmelo Anthony, put Rodney Hood off the bench, if anything like that. Or you can have a starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Rodney Hood at your 2. At your 3, you can still have Carmelo Anthony. At your 4, Robert Covington. And then at your 5, you can either keep Enes Kanter or you can put up Harry Giles within it. Right now with the Portland Trailblazers, they really got these guys going. Rodney Hood, Damian Lillard, and Carmelo Anthony have to be your main guys to score. And that's going to be a burden on Rodney Hood. But Melo, he can give you around 16 to 20 a night. He's been doing it since the last season. I really do believe now, since of injuries, you got to put Carmelo back in the starting lineup. I know he's 36 years of age. Doesn't matter. He did well last season. So overall, Portland is going to take some time and adjustments. I'm probably going to have to backtrack off that Allen Crabbe signing because I forgot you still have Gary Trent Jr., who kind of resembles a little like him. You may want to bring in another point guard within your team if they want to bring in some more minutes, and another big. Maybe you want to sign Tyson Chandler, anything like that. Maybe Jordan Bell for another backup. But besides from that, Portland Trailblazers, I still expect them to make the playoffs. We're probably going to see Damian Lillard take on the scoring title this season, since KD and Harden will be on the Nets going back and forth. I think Damian Lillard will take the scoring title. Let me know what you guys think below. We'll cover more.